Yeah, PSG then advance. The latest news we're getting on Mousiala early, of course, is that he could be out for 4 to 5 months with a broken fibula. I think what was quite interesting was Manuel Neuer's comments after the game. This is what the Bayern Munich goalkeeper had to say. It was a situation where you don't have to go in like that. That's risk-taking. He was prepared to accept the risk of injuring his opponent. I went to him and said, don't you want to go and see our player? This is to Donnarumma. It's a matter of respect of going there and wishing the guy all the best. He then did it. Fair play is always part of it. I would have reacted differently. Now, for more on this, Alexis Nunes was at the game. We'll be hearing from Alexis in a moment. Jan joins us as well. But Kasey, I suppose, is the only goalkeeper on this set. I'm intrigued which goalkeeper side you're taking here. I'm surprised Neuer came out and said this.
I was surprised. I mean, I don't have the problem with, hey, would you like to come into the locker room and show your respect? I mean, it was kind of surprising after the reaction from Donnarumma that he wasn't asking himself or maybe just didn't know the proper protocol to do such.
Did Donnarumma do anything wrong?
I mean, in the end, he hurt somebody, so it was a little reckless. But, I mean, we've done that as goalkeepers all the time. And what I kind of saw from Mousiala was maybe he saw Donnarumma coming, kind of went to shield it. But Donnarumma's a big, big man and just caught somebody wrong. It's one of those injuries you see in the NFL all the time. You know, the way bodies roll up on other legs and things like that. I don't think there was anything malicious about it from Donnarumma. I didn't see him come in and really try. I thought he was just making a play on the ball, and it was just a very unfortunate situation. And I also understand that Manuel Neuer's friend and teammate just got injured, but, I mean, I've seen Neuer come in like that many a time.
What do you think, Rollo?
No blame on the goalkeeper whatsoever, I don't think, because he was diving down at the ball. He didn't go through Mousiala to get to the ball.
So why has Neuer come out and said it was a situation where you don't have to go in like that?
Because the ball was half running out of play. The defender was going to be the first player to get there. So what he's saying is, does Donnarumma need to get involved in it to start with? But once you see the ball on the ground, again, if it had gone through, actually, but he was going for the ball, he went down the side of Mousiala, and Mousiala, he was running, and they collided with each other. I just don't see any blame on Donnarumma whatsoever.
I have to be honest, Ali. Like, when I thought we were going to talk about this in the show, I thought everyone was just going to say, well, no, this is just part of the game. Donnarumma, there was nothing malicious. What took me by surprise that Neuer's come out and decided to address this and decide to almost kind of throw Donnarumma under the bus.
Unnecessarily so, because had Manuel Neuer being in the situation that Donnarumma was and the ball was rolling away from Mousiala and he felt like he could get to it, Manuel Neuer would have done exactly the same thing. And the moment in which he felt that he could get to the ball, he would make, in fact, it would be his job. It would be his duty as a goalkeeper to go and get the ball and do whatever is it that you think is necessary to go and get the ball. And there was nothing about Donnarumma's behavior that was out of line, that was malicious. He's going to get the ball. This player is on the way and he is impeding my progress. I'm going to, because I have the power to go and get the ball with my hands, I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to go around the player, and if I happen to roll him over, that is just a freak accident. Manuel Neuer would have done exactly the same thing had he been on the other side. This is a non-issue for me. Manuel Neuer has made it an issue, and now we seem to think that it makes sense. It doesn't. Manuel Neuer is wrong on this one.
Jan, do you agree?
No, I don't agree on just the rational analysis of this situation. We have to understand where Manuel Neuer comes from. I'm with the boys that Donnarumma didn't do anything intentional, that you see this kind of thing happening on the pitch many times. Manuel Neuer, Kasey, all goalkeepers have done that during their career, probably we as a striker as well. But you have to understand where Manuel Neuer is coming from. So this is just before halftime. The team are coming into the dressing room. They know that their golden boy, Jamal Musiala, who's been struggling with injuries, is on his way. He's actually sitting in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. That is point one. After the game, you lose a football game. You're out of the Club World Cup. Bayern Munich were very keen to do well there. But it seemed that they've been talking because Max Eberl, the head of sport there, he somehow sung the same tones, as did Vincent Kompany after the game. So I think that we should also put the emotional status into that. I think what Manuel Neuer is doing is standing up for his teammate. Is he 100% right in his in his analysis. He's not saying he shouldn't go there. He said, I mean, Max Ebel said he's 100 kilo Donnarumma. He shouldn't go there. I didn't see it like that, but I can understand that you would stand up for your teammate. I don't see this as an attack from Manuel Neuer on Donnarumma. I see this as clearly 100% analysis based on his emotions after a game when you know that your mate is out for maybe 6 months. Maybe you've seen or you have seen this player been injured earlier this season, early in this tournament, he's been struggling. So I think we're a bit too rational in your analysis from the studio.
But if, you can't then, whether you're emotional, whether you're upset that your player's got injured, you think about the player. You don't then try and blame it on somebody else and make somebody else feel worse, because Donnarumma was probably feeling bad at the time. Now he's going to feel even worse. So you can't say that Manuel Neuer and the chief executive, whatever he is, the sporting director, aren't making things worse. They've got to keep their emotions aside and say, all we can worry about is Mousiala. That's all we can worry about, not blame it on somebody else.
Go on, Jan.
No, but I think that is a human way sometimes what you do. You lose the game, you're up there, you see your mate is going out there. I don't think this is a pointing on him. Even Max Ebel said is 0,0. So it's 0 chance that it is this intentional. But it will point to Donnarumma, because Donnarumma, whatever we see this, whatever way we see it, well, Donnarumma injured him. So
no, but I think this is different, Jan. This is pouring gas on the fire, which doesn't necessarily need to be stoked, doesn't it?
I hear that you have a different opinion, and I respect that. I just want us to see this from an emotional view. There is no one I've seen that's pointing the finger at Donnarumma and said he did this intentional. So I think we have to have a bit of space for that, done that, and I'm sure the boys have done that sometimes in their career as well. Straight after a game, when you do an interview like that, you want to protect the teammate.
If he was 98 kilos, he could do it. But since he's 100, he's not allowed.
I think the part in which he takes it to the next level is which is he essentially saying, I would have reacted differently. I would have gone about it a different way. I would have done something else. I would have gone and checked on Jamal Musiala. Well, that's you. That's Manuel Neuer. But we are not in a position in which we can judge Gigi Donnarumma's behavior, because we don't know exactly what he knew. He's out there playing the game. He comes back into the locker room after what happened, and he's concentrated and focused on playing the game. Once the game is over, how is he supposed to know what the actual protocol has been, where Jamal Musiala is? You are asking a player that has gone through a traumatic experience, and it has to be a traumatic experience because that's the way that he reacted after he saw what happened, that felt terrible about it, that still has to go and play the game, and now you're asking him to be organized in terms of his thought process as to what he needs to do to figure out where Jamal Musiala is and how he's doing. Again, we don't know what Donnarumma knew or didn't know after the game. So to judge his behavior, I think is where Manuel Neuer is making a real mistake.
Alexis, obviously, you're at the game. I imagine this was the big talking point afterwards.
Yeah, I think just the debate there in studio pretty sums up exactly how the entire crowd and press box also felt. Everybody wondering exactly who to cast blame on, because this was the last thing we wanted to see, especially for Jamal Musiala. We wouldn't want to see any player go through a horrendous injury like that. But with Musiala, we already knew that he had to come back from a hamstring injury that kept him out of the game for over 70 days. He finally came back against Auckland City in that goal fest that we saw. And we were finally saying, okay, we're going to see the Jamal Musiala that we know and love. And unfortunately for him to go down like that, I think it just knocked the wind out of the stadium. After that, once Donnarumma came back, anytime he touched the ball, whether it was to play out from the back or to make a save, he was just met with a chorus of boos. Everybody seemed to want to throw blame somebody's way. But you could look at his reaction immediately after it happened, and he knew that there was no intent in there. He didn't really mean for that to happen. Of course, he's a big stature, but that's not not his fault either, you know. And I think casting the blame just kind of is exactly how everybody in the stadium was feeling, because nobody wanted to see a player go down like that. But unfortunately, in the end, you know, Vincent Kompany said it himself in his press match conference that he just felt that after that injury, their emotions got the better of them. You saw that this game had it all. Two teams that were definitely up for the battle more than we thought. It felt like a Champions League final. We saw 2 red cards. Emotions were flying. So it was definitely a pivotal moment in the game. And I think emotional is exactly how I would have described the atmosphere.
And what does it mean, Jan, for Bayern going forward now with the season starting, next month?
Well, first of all, they will have 3 weeks off. I think they need that. I think the organization, Bayern Munich, need that. They have been, since they won the Bundesliga, on a losing strike in the transfer window. They signed the Wirtz father, and Liverpool signed their son. I've said that before. They were too late to get Gittins. They are late to any ships that is walking away from the transfer window now. So they need to get some players in now. And with Mousiala out, of course, they need is desperate for that kind of player too. But they put a lot of effort into this Club World Cup. They wanted to do well. They wanted the money. They wanted to go all the way. They wanted to restore some of the proudness of their kind of Europe kind of thing, or the world thing that they were doing now. So they need to get players in. The problem is with Max Eberl at the moment, I feel, that they always put it on one card. I'm sure they are getting broader, but they called up Gittins the day he was supposed to do his medical for Chelsea Football Club. That is a bit late in my book. So Bayern Munich know that they are under pressure now, and even more so with Musiala out. They lost Leroy Sané, Thomas Müller is out, and so on. So it's going to be. I don't think Max Eberl and Christoph Freund will take 3 weeks off.
Now, there aren't a list of transfers that are available that replace Musiala anywhere near it, Ali. This is a big problem for Bayern.
Rodrigo!
Yeah.
Rodrigo!
Yeah.
Rodrigo! It was a conversation. It was a conversation ahead of the Musiala injury that maybe Rodrigo was a good fit for Bayern Munich. Now it feels like a desperate fit. Like we must have a player like Rodrigo. Because when you see Bayern Munich and who is actually available to them, Musiala out of the picture, the natural substitute in terms of position would be Tom Bishop, who they acquired from Hoffenheim. I don't think he's going to get this responsibility. And so then it's Serge Gnabry, and it's Kingsley Coman, and then Harry Kane is playing up top, and then Michael Olise, and a sort of a combination of those guys would sort of take on the role of Jamal Musiala. Neither Serge Gnabry no Kingsley Coman can do that job effectively, consistently. And so you need, to Jan's point, you need more than what you have available. I actually thought that Bayern Munich played well today. I actually thought that they exposed some things from PSG and made it uncomfortable for PSG. They were willing to press PSG like many other teams are not willing to do. They were matching the press of PSG. It shows the personality of Bayern Munich, and they were willing to do so with a makeshift back line. So Vincent Kompany is saying, I don't care if we're short in the back line. We're still going to be a team that presses. So you need players that can actually do some of the things that Vincent Kompany and this team would want you to do offensively. You need talent. Rodrigo could provide that. He's looking for a way out. Bayern Munich needs a player like him. It all feels sort of perfect. It doesn't always work that way, but it feels perfect.
Jan, like, where are Bayern in this situation? Are they going to wait for him to go to Arsenal and then make the call?
Exactly. That's what you ask yourself, because the German pundits, the German insiders, they talk about this Bayern list. The last thing this week was they have 2 lists. They have the hot list and then the not so hot list. And with Williams as well, they thought, he won't go to Barcelona, so we will get him. He's not going to Barcelona, but he's going to Bilbao, or he's staying in Bilbao. Then you have Woltemade, the Stuttgart striker, maybe the closest thing. They have now to sign a great German talent. What happened there? They've been 1 week discussing with Lothar Matthäus. Is he allowed to say that this man will cost 80, 90, 100 million? The conclusion at Bayern is that a pundit can't say anything about transfer fees, because then they will raise the price. I mean, that is not world class, is it? That is not Bayern.
So is Rodrigo on the radar, Jan?
the Rodrigo thing hasn't been linked in. I'm with Al. He will fit the bill, but he's not even been on these two lists.
Right.
My point.
Wow.
Rodrigo. So we'll see if Alonso will do them a favor. His former club, but now there is a new situation. Even Thomas Müller was talked about today. Could he do another 6 months? So you know how desperate they are at the moment.
Rodrigo played 4 minutes, by the way. We'll talk about Real Madrid's win a little later on. But let's focus on what happened in the game, Robbo. Did the best team win?
At the end, yeah, they weren't the best team. I agree with Ali completely that Bayern Munich closed them down, made it difficult. I was expecting PSG's midfield to completely dominate the game. I was expecting their wing-backs to get really high and cause all sorts of problems, which they did on occasions. But it was a fairly even game. When you look at all the stats over the game, I was looking through the stats as we were watching the game.
You love the stats.
I usually don't, but I was thinking, what is the percentage of the possession? And it was fairly even, and Bayern Munich created chances. I thought Harry Kane looked a bit sharper than he has, apart from making a mistake for the goal. But he made 1 or 2 good moves. So I thought actually Bayern played particularly well, and PSG did what they have been doing, but not to quite the same extent. They weren't dominant. They weren't free-flowing. Bayern made it difficult for them.
In the end, I suppose it was the quality. Hakimi was fantastic, obviously setting up Dembele for the second goal, and Doué, who is so much fun to watch.
And I think both goalkeepers made nice saves throughout the match to keep it at 0-0 when it was.
We're not talking about the goalkeepers now. I was talking about what happened now. Relax. Like Doué, Dembele, people who matter.
Relax.
But what about the goalkeepers, guys?
and then Bayern had a couple goals called back for just marginally offside. Great job.
Offside.
Yes, they were offside, but great line from PSG to pull that line and get them offside. And then you've had that quality of PSG over, we talked about last night, from basically November onward is where they really started their run to become the best team in the world. And that individual quality when they needed it against a better side in Bayern Munich in the first half, take the emotions aside from Mousiala and all that, but when you needed a couple guys to step up and show their world-class players, PSG had that.
Anything you want to add on this, Jan?
No, I'm with you. I think Bayern did well, but I think as also that we've seen some games this season, especially on the international stage, they've been doing well. They did well against Inter as well, but they need something more to go all the way. And I think PSG kind of showed that today, although Bayern did a good game.
If I may for a second, this game showed us a lot of reasons as to why you can get behind this tournament. Because you can have...
They should have every game in the stadium, shouldn't they? That's perfect.
Because you can have this sort of matchup with this sort of clubs, this sort of power, this sort of quality, play at that sort of top-tier level. And it also had, if you're a naysayer, if you're a hater, if you're a detractor of this tournament, it also had the reasons as to why you shouldn't have this at all. And you will point
Which is the injury, obviously.
You will point at the injury of Mousiala, and that could have. Listen, I'll be the first one to say that could have happened in a train session. It could have happened in a random game against Mainz in Bundesliga. It could have happened anywhere, but it didn't. It happened in the quarterfinals in a featured matchup in which anybody who's a fan of this game would have been watching this match. And now the image that you have is not Doué, it's not Dembele, it's not Neuer, it's not this guy or that guy, it's the dangling leg of Jamal Musiala and the inconsolable face of Donnarumma. That's the lasting image of the game. I'm telling you, if you're a naysayer and a detractor, you're hanging on to that. But of course, we would like to focus on the fact that this was top-tier teams playing at a top-tier level.
Yeah, Alexis, you've been to a lot of these games. Is it fair to say that this had the highest quality, the best crowd kind of that we've seen so far?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the crowd was over 65,000. So that was absolutely one of the best attendances that we've seen all tournament. And it was interesting because I think we know that the crowds tend to follow the South American teams. And then when it's not a South American team, it was Real Madrid, who will have fans any and everywhere in the world. So I was actually skeptical to see if they were going to get the right atmosphere. But I think a lot of people wanted to come out and see the reigning European champions, the Champions League winners, this exciting PSG team that managed to do it finally without the Messis, without the Neymars, without the Mbappés. And then, of course, coming in against the German champions with Bayern Munich, who also have so many exciting players like Mousiala as well. We saw what they could do in the group stages, but the turnout was absolutely spectacular. And I mean, they delivered an absolute show. It had easily probably the best performance I think I've seen. I think Bayern up against Boca Juniors was also a good game to watch for the crowd too. And I remember saying it yesterday, I did give Bayern the slight edge in this one because I was skeptical to see how up for it PSG really was. And I think we could have pardoned them if they weren't. But Bayern, from the very start, from day one, from when they landed and we went to their camp in Orlando and I spoke to Thomas Muller and everyone, they really seemed up for this tournament and they looked absolutely deflated for more reasons than one afterwards. You know, Vincent Kompany spoke about it too. But this was a great test for them too. And of course, PSG, once you put those competitors out there on the pitch against top opponents, you know, both of them just allow each other to raise their game to probably the highest level we have definitely seen from two clubs this tournament.